Welcome into the Cowboys Report. On today's video, we are taking a look at some starters who could lose their job with, in theory, training camp coming up here for the Cowboys. And oh, by the way, stay tuned until the very end. There's a fun little surprise at the back end for you guys. We'll begin on the offensive line. Connor Williams, who so many of you are trying to replace, but there is the possibility of it this year for the Cowboys, I think at least in large part, because Williams is coming off yet another injury that cost him the back end of his sophomore season, his second season with the Dallas Cowboys. Connor McGovern, in theory, is now going to be healthy. Although Williams is expected to be good to go for week one, we'll see when he actually gets out on the field. If he misses whatever training camp looks like this year, or at least part of it, that would allow McGovern to get a chance to earn that left guard role. I don't think Cam Irving competes for it, plus he's not very good either. Looney and Biadasz, we'll talk about them in a little bit. Redmond's probably more of a center anyway. So I think that gives the Cowboys a chance to allow a different Connor to push their incumbent Connor for that starting left guard role. I still think Williams gets it and keeps that job, but there is a very real chance that instead of Williams having it, it ends up being McGovern. So who would you rather see at left guard? Type M for Connor McGovern, type W for Connor Williams. I am fully open to a massive competition and a true competition. Let the best man win. I still think that's going to be, or it's going to end up being Williams. I'm going to type in my W. Let's go now to Joe Looney, the center here for the Dallas Cowboys. And I guess I'm kind of cheating here because he's not a returning starter, but he's more of an assumed starter for the Dallas Cowboys because, well, A, Travis Frederick, of course, retired, so that job's open. And Looney was the center the last time Frederick wasn't able to play for the Dallas Cowboys. But unlike that season, there are younger options who could push or surpass Looney for that starting center job. We mentioned Connor McGovern. Well, he played some center at Penn State. He, in theory, could be an option, especially if Connor Williams gets back on the field quickly. Tyler Biadasz, though, is the most obvious answer, the fourth-round rookie out of Wisconsin. And yeah, the last time the Cowboys had a center out of Wisconsin, things turned out pretty darn well. The other name to at least potentially watch out for here could be Adam Redmond, who the Cowboys like, but hasn't really gotten on the field. And there is a scenario in which maybe Connor Williams moves over to center. I think that is the least likely of those four options. But for now, Looney is the, I think, assumed starting center. So I want you guys to predict this for me down in the comments section. Who do you think will end up starting at center for the Dallas Cowboys? I think most of your answers will be Looney or will be Biadasz, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I also have a special deal alert that I came across for you guys. Figured I'd share. Head over to chatsports.com/CowboysLS because long sleeve shirts, get it? LS long sleeve. Those are on sale right now, 20% off. They've got some custom ones. Got some player long sleeve shirts, like an Emmitt Smith one is in there. Got them in blue and white and gray. I like that gray one. By the way, I have a very, very similar one myself. I know it's the summer, but if you do it now, well, if you buy it now while it's on sale, you'll save money, and then you'll have it come fall time. So go check out links in the comments and the description, chatsports.com/CowboysLS. Now for a player that I know many of you would like to see lose their job because you don't want to pay Tyrone Crawford over $9 million. I understand that. Now, unlike Looney and Williams, who are going to make this team if they lose their job, Crawford's inclusion on this list is probably he loses his job because he gets cut. Now, I think a release is unlikely at this point, because they are playing nice with Crawford's agent, who's also Dak's agent. Funny how that works out. But I do potentially see a scenario. Maybe Randy Gregory or Aldon Smith play great. And maybe that results in Crawford taking a pay cut, takes a lesser role, whatever it ends up being. This is probably a little bit more of a stretch for his inclusion. But again, and I'm going to take the L on this, I didn't think Crawford was going to be here when the offseason began because you could have cut him and saved $8 million. The Cowboys have not pursued that so far. But they do need more pass rush help. So maybe I can cheat here and say on pass rushing downs, as has often been the case for Crawford, he might kick inside. Because I want to see if I can get Aldon Smith or Randy Gregory if he's ever reinstated for the Cowboys, or maybe Dorrance Armstrong in there. Maybe it's one of the other young guys, an Anaya, Jackson, a Jelks. and they can provide a little more of a pass rush boost than what historically and so far in his career, Crawford hasn't really provided. He's always been a dirty work type of player. So who do you guys think ends up starting at the opposite defensive end spot across from DeMarcus Lawrence? Type C for Tyrone Crawford, type S for Aldon Smith, or type G for Randy Gregory, and I will make this the pinned comment on this video. Let's move on now to Jourdan Lewis. And I know you guys aren't liking this one. I know, because I'm still a founding member of Team 3 Jourdan. Throw it in the comments section. But I am also aware of what's going on here with the Cowboys and with Jourdan Lewis and this entire cornerback room, which we will spend some time on here. The Cowboys chose to pay Anthony Brown in free agency. They gave him significant money. They paid him like a starting caliber corner. Well, guess what? Anthony Brown and Jourdan Lewis, they're best at nickel cornerback. And even last year, I know the coaching staff is different this year, but even last year, the Cowboys were like, hey, we're going to give more reps to Anthony Brown. Then he got hurt. Now, I would find a role for Jourdan Lewis. Now, I am aware that Lewis does allow more receptions and gets beat more often, but he makes up for it with playmaking ability. And I'm willing to overlook if you get beat a little bit more as long as you can provide some playmaking. The problem is that in reality, when you look at the whole of the results the past 2 years for these corners, Anthony Brown and Jourdan Lewis, honestly aren't that different. Jourdan Lewis gives up more completions, more yards per coverage snap. You see the stats up there, more touchdowns. But he makes more plays on the football, too. So it's a balancing act there of figuring out, okay, well, which do you want? The guy who doesn't get beat or the guy who ends up taking the ball away? If it's close, I think you'd probably prefer the playmaker, but the Cowboys paid paid Anthony Brown over Jourdan Lewis. And if Trevon Diggs ends up earning a starting spot, I think it's very possible come week 1. The Cowboys would love to have that happen, by the way. Well, then in theory, all of a sudden, Anthony Brown becomes your CB3. He lines up in the slot. Trevon Diggs goes to CB2. And now Lewis ends up being the odd man out at cornerback 4. It's a very, very real possibility that even early in training camp, Jourdan Lewis is relegated to a role behind Anthony Brown. So cast your votes for me. I'm sure many of you will type in JL. I would agree in a bubble, but that the Cowboys paid AB, makes me a little bit worried about that one. Let's stick here with more cornerback talk. Chidobe Awuzie next up here. There have been the rumblings of Awuzie moving to safety. I wanted to include him on here because it's a comment that I see in the comments section. That was kind of a tongue twister right there. But I still don't see a great path in which Awuzie isn't starting in some capacity on this Cowboys team. For starters, I think he's the best cornerback on the roster. I think he's better than Jourdan Lewis, better than Anthony Brown. We'll see what Trevon Diggs does. Maybe there's a scenario where Daryl Worley, or more likely both of those young first-year players in Diggs and Reggie Robinson emerge and step up. But I think that Awuzie, hopefully in a new scheme, will cut down on some of those plays where he's not able to get his head around. The Cowboys were banking on a breakout year last year, and that ended up not happening. And in the end, you're trying to get whatever the combination looks like, right, of your 5 best corners on the field. Now, maybe it's as simple as Awuzie really struggles in camp. They just promote Diggs to cornerback 1, and they roll with Anthony Brown and Jourdan Lewis over him. I think it's a little bit of a stretch. Even if you move him to safety, would you rather have Woods or Awuzie? Maybe that's the path in which Cheeto loses his job. They move him to safety because they're so impressed by the young players, and he just struggles at a position change, although he did play a decent amount of it back in Colorado. So I do want to hear what you guys have to say when it comes to where Awuzie should play. S for safety, CB for corner. Kind of straightforward on that one. I'm still going to keep him at corner for this year, although I am aware long-term, he might not be a member of the Dallas Cowboys this season. Speaking of long-term, get your long-sleeve T-shirts while they are on sale. They're going to be perfect for the fall. Chatsports.com/CowboysLS. I have a very similar gray one like the one on screen right now. I love to rock it. It's very thin fabric, so it does hold up pretty well, even as the temperature begins to cool down. Chatsports.com/CowboysLS. They are 20% off, and as I mentioned earlier, I will put that link, in the comments and in the description. And they got a whole bunch more than just the ones we showed, all types of colors and fonts and all of that. Whole bunch of variety. Chatsports.com/CowboysLS. Over now to what might be the biggest stretch on this list, potentially, Jamize Olawale, the fullback. Now, the Cowboys picked up the club option in the 2020 season. That means he has a $1.7 million cap hit this year. And there's a $1.2 million dead money hit. So if you cut him right now, you would end up only saving $600,000. But the dead money's spaced out over 2 years since we're after June 1st. So you would cut that in half in terms of the cap hit this year. So you would be able to save a little over $1 million for this year's cap. Now, what it requires to have happen, if you're going to cut Olawale, who didn't make much of an impact last year, the issue is you're not going to save much money. You would need the only other fullback on the roster right now to find a way to impress in camp and in the preseason. And that is undrafted free agent rookie out of TCU, Sewo Olonilua, who was a running back at TCU, who the Cowboys are going to move to fullback, a move I very much like. I think he's got major special teams upside. If he can impress in that category, that's going to help him, at least give him a chance. The biggest problem here, beyond, of course, that, well, UDFAs don't always make the team, is that this is going to be I think an abbreviated camp / preseason, just weird right now. So at that point, it makes it tougher for a UDFA to actually make the roster. One last one for you guys. This one's a no-brainer. It's Xavier Woods. You go, wait, Tom, Donovan Wilson's going to replace him? No, Xavier Woods will lose his job once the Dallas Cowboys end up trading for Jamal Adams. I'm just trying to speak some positivity into the world right now. You guys are welcome. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.